Hey, beautiful people, it's me, Patchstam Bogat, yet again with another video. Today, I thought it would be advantageous for all of us to discuss our next spiritual lesson, and that's reaction versus, well, you guessed, your response. You know, even if we do break down both terminologies, I have to say this, I want to just get into it, where your response is actually can be seen more favorable because when you respond to something, it sounds very obvious, but you're thinking, you're processing your thoughts before you even actually do it, right? So in other words, you think before you act, whereas reaction is simply something falls on the floor and then you just react, right? That's to put it simply. But one thing that I've noticed when it comes to both terms, both definitions, how could we actually use both definitions within our lives, especially those who walk the left hand path? You know, just being a very spiritual person. How do you really incorporate both in your life, and when is the appropriate time to use one or the other, and things of that nature, right? Or interchangeably. For example, I had a moment in my life where it had to been like the more recent years when I came into the left hand path, working dark magic, and I actually had this experience, and this experience had I was like on a forum, it was about dark magic with witchcraft and things of that nature, and what ended up happening was that I got into a little debacle with the people there, and even now when I look back at that time, I had a lot of fire in me because I was so excited about what I've learned. And I knew I wasn't wrong about what I was saying because they were direct experiences. But long story short, one thing led to another and I got really upset about it. And upon waking up, and then what I mean by that is that I went to sleep and I woke up the very next day. And in my mind, I kept saying to myself, you know what? I I don't like, okay? I don't like the very notion that they spoke to me that way. And I always figured like, you know what? Maybe it's a bad thing that I'm actually doing what I'm doing. I got their comments to get to me, because obviously, with this Baphomet statue, um, being on the left hand path, people are not going to take too kindly. Not that it's their fucking business, but we know now it's been at a point where, presently, I'm at a point where there's no return. I love what I do. It is what it is. But at that particular time, I let it get to me. What ended up happening is that I merely reacted. I wanted to throw out my mala beads, or you could call them the Tibetan beads, and my altar and things of that nature, because I allowed it to get to me. And my patron just entered my mind and said, think. The word think was just, it looked like it was in big bold letters in my mind. Think before you act. So in other words, what it's saying is to respond first before you go ahead and do that. So of course, I thought first of all it was just really awesome for the demonic, to do that. But it taught me a very valuable lesson, and that's what like I'm sharing with you now, where you want to think before you act, before you do anything. Either you feel like you want to leave the left hand path, you want to leave your job or whatever. Like I said, this is more broad. It's not just based off of magic or the left hand path. It's just in general, in a very broad sense, where you have to think about before you do stuff because obviously we're going to end up regretting it. And the demonic looked into the future and they foresaw that there would be regret on my part. Because obviously, why would you bother to tell me? Because they don't do things, without purpose. They do it with express purpose. So I was able to sit there and be like, you know what? Let me not do that because it doesn't sound like a nice idea. And there's been times when, you know, I've responded in kind and I had favorable results. And mind you, I'm gonna get a little technical here too. I'm not saying that even if you think before you act, that you're always gonna get the right answer. Because even when you respond and you take your time, and I mean, let's say you take a day or two before you even act, you could still come out the loser or be defeated because perhaps you took too long, or perhaps no matter what you thought about the other person or even the daemon, they chose something different. So don't think that responding or response is always the best answer. It's a favorable one in certain situations. That's why it's one of those things where you have to put your hands up and just be like, you know what, you're going to have to let things be, let things go. Because if you have to, endure some hard knocks, endure those hard knocks. If you going to, obviously receive a good experience, then receive it well. But the point that I'm trying to make is we don't want to be that individual that we keep on repeating the same shit over and over and over again. What I'm trying to say is this, and again, I believe I said this in one of my other videos where um, I constantly thought that Satan was a liar. And that was actually hindering me, or part of me was hindering me from basically getting closer and closer to my manifestation. Because the reason being is that it's your attitude. It's because your attitude expresses your approach to to matters, and that in turn actually could dictate basically how you're able to receive something. Because if you think about it, if you and I knew each other on a one-on-one basis, and my attitude is that I think that you're a liar, and you're going to tell me that you're going to give me something like $1 billion, right? Obviously, I'm not going to take it very likely, and you wouldn't even do that because, like Satan, you're probably one of those individuals where it's like, well, before something like that extraordinary has to happen, you need to look within yourself, and you need to, basically develop. And that makes a lot of sense because when you think about self-development, the problem is not the manifestation itself. It's not the daemon that you're working with or the Patreon that you're working with. It could be you. Think about it. Like, be pragmatic in how you view matters. It's not all the time that because you speak to the daemon, it's fake or it's not real. No, that's self-defeatist and that's giving up. But however, if you really look at it, you need to break things down. And that's why I'm always big on being pragmatic, being a bit of a skeptic. You want to connect all your dots. Look at what you're doing and try to see what you could do to improve. Because by me thinking that Satan is a liar, obviously showed a lack of knowledge on my part. Because yeah, Satan has done so much for me, little manifestations, and I manifest stuff, every now and then. And I'm saying to myself, if I'm able to do all these things, how come I can't get my manifestation? So therefore Satan's a liar. And that just held me back, because it's your attitude. See, I was the problem. That was something that needed to be fixed. And recently Satan helped me to appreciate he's not a fucking liar. He finalized that shit. I mean, he actually went deep within. We're talking about paradoxical, teachings and, tactics and all the other stuff, and what he did to get me to believe that he lied, but only to realize that he did not. And that's what I'm so happy that if I look at the year 2020, I say it's a good year because that's by far most of the time or the years that I spent with Satan that I had that subconscious thought, this lingering around in my mind, thinking that somehow, some way, he is a liar, whereas he's not. It's just how demons do things. So that's why I'm saying you need to use things interchangeably. Because if I were to react it, that I would have left the left hand path a long time ago, but I didn't. But the best of my knowledge, the best of my ability, all these years being with Satan while manifesting, You know what I was doing? I was basically responding. Though it was on a superficial level and I was thinking about it, I wasn't thinking deep enough. That's why, to me, I feel the best way to actually go about doing things is you really have to take your time, and really get to know the individual, because even when you think you know someone, there's always something new that comes up about the individual, like with Satan, because he's such a fantastic teacher that I see him in so many facets, in so many ways, where it's like he just amazes me every single time when he teaches me a lesson. And it makes me feel good, it makes me feel like I have a lot to look forward to. Things don't get really stagnant, because of it. But yet, if you notice by that example, I most definitely responded. And I may have not looked at things the way they should have, because I was basing it off of what was right in front of me, and you guys do the same thing. But at least I know that I was smart enough not to run away, not to give up, and I knew to the better part of his nature that even though I felt deep down inside that, there's a possibility that he could be lying due to the fact that I'm not receiving my manifestation, but that within itself was paradoxical, because even though I felt that way, I also felt that because, you know, um, he can't possibly lie to me, because it just doesn't make any sense for someone to be a Patreon, a guardian of mine for the rest of my life, and then lie to me just because he has nothing else to do. So I was conflicted. But long story short, Satan was able to basically fix that. And hopefully that advice is good enough for you, and you're able to discern what is needed at that appropriate time, because it's going to be a situation where even when you ask the daemon, a direct answer, they may just give you a half truth on purpose because they want you to learn something out of it, just like myself. So don't think for these years I didn't ask Satan. I went to the source, and he's giving me a lot of half truths because he wanted to teach me a lesson. So in other words, he knew my heart was in it, obviously, because I'm here on YouTube and I'm trying to help you guys because I was helped. And you have to realize that's like the majority of the time of me being on the left hand path, that I was being, responsible for my actions and accountable for it. But then at the same time, it worked out for me, and I'm even closer to my manifestation. It's about the journey, and I'm still on it. And hopefully one day, I'm able to say, hey, look, I actually manifested that main dream that I always wanted. But I know, like, I'm almost there. Why? Well, because I responded in a way that someone that really loves what they do, what they're devoted in doing, is going to do. You're not going to allow anything to stop you. Okay, guys? So, again, I hope this information helps you. Please put it to practice in your everyday life so that you could be very much successful. Okay? So, if you want to write a comment about your experiences, and then you could do so. But of course, besides that, please try to subscribe to my channel. It'll help me out a lot. And also like, if this video resonated with you. I love you all, and have a good one. See you guys.